Good morning. Hello, hello. From wherever you are in this world, I'm recording this in Montana in on the morning of the fall equinox on the 22nd. So we're in fall equinox. We also just entered Libra season. So there's just so many new things to talk about. And we still want to continue to talk about what's going on with solar flares, with energy, with everything, right? So thank you for being here. Thank you for signing on, and I welcome you. I'm glad you're here. So let's start first with the idea that when we go into equinox, it's the equal time between light and dark. It's sort of where half of the zodiac is split. And I learned something. Maybe this has always been available, but to me, it really finally clicked that each time we go into a equinox or a solstice, we go into one of the cardinal signs. So we go into Aries or Libra or Cancer or Capricorn, right? So when we celebrate leaving, right? Leaving the mutable, we go into cardinal, which is like time to hold and lead. And I thought that's important for us to know right now, especially because um we're midway through this period of time between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. And so we don't know what's going to happen with that solar eclipse, except for that it's way at the tip of Africa. So we won't be able to see it. It's an annular, which means that there's a ring around it, that the moon actually covers the sun, but it's because of the distance, there's actually a big ring around it. So I thought that was interesting too. Um, we're gonna get into what's going on with each of you during this period of time. I just wanted to sort of set the stage with what's going on astrologically, with the moon, with everything, right? It is. Oh, I love that. I just got this comment on here. It's not just so quiet; it's soul quiet. Boy, I really hope that that's the case because we have been in it. So when we look at the solar flares are going to tell us right now that it's quiet. We're bumping around between C2, C3, C4. I think on Tuesday last week we got a C9, or I think was it a 9? Yeah, C9. So we haven't hit a M yet all week. So it's been sort of quiet. And what we also know is that the C's are when they were tapping and were being tapped. So when we combine the steady sort of dripping, and I've got this shower faucet that just wants to keep dripping in the background, and I thought this is such a perfect example of what we're talking about because we're trying to do daily life, and then there's this tap, 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 tap consistently all day long, all night long on us. So when we're being tapped, I thought about some of the things that we are being asked to remember or to explore, right? One is the idea that we have a lot of mental stories on the outside that trigger us and get us into some sort of reaction, whether it's the news, what party you're following, what the economy is doing, what's, the spending habits, something somebody said. We're just being really easily triggered right now. And keep in mind that these are all really mental stories, right? Um, we are learning how to turn off those voices, those issues in our head, and find quiet and peace. Thankfully, through all of this different kinds of information that I've been covering over the last year and a half, we are learning that this is a very valuable thing. We're also sort of in fear, and this is the Four of Pentacles within the Osho, which is where I'm not sure that I want to sort of not sure I want to be out there with people. I want to sort of hoard or hide my treasures, and I don't trust anybody. So that may be up. One of the other things is that because so many of our energetic skills are coming online, this is the Seven of Cups. We are not sure if it's us or it's them or who's creating havoc in our energy field. But I love this idea that it's hard to tell. Is it me or is it him? Or is it him thinking something he's seeing in me? And so this projection, right, is just huge. Ah, um, and don't forget that we are still absolutely, we haven't even completed the deep dive into Pluto in Capricorn. So when we look at the idea that we're still excavating all of these old patterns, everything that's happening to us, and that we have these levels of conditioning that we are still addressing. So what I love is that it's quiet enough for us to start actually noticing something and paying attention. It's actually serene enough outside with that gentle tapping over and over again that it's like, what is it that I'm here to really pay attention to? And what is it that I can sort of take off of my body? And that's when we bring in the thought deck, which I love this image of the Princess of Cups, is that she's taken on all of this. She's just going after it. She's cutting it down. She's eradicating it. And so whether it is, how angry we are, how suppressed we have felt, whether it feels like we've been um, that we have there's a world out there that we have developed such a stringent environment around us that nothing can really we can't get out, and we don't know how to leave, or we don't know how to open the gate and walk out. Now, one of the things I love about this is if you look over here, the lock is undone. This kid is just kind of like, well, they told me I can't leave. And this is always that mental construct, which is, this is the world I created. I probably should stay here and just endure. Not smart. Not smart, because we're going through an enormous amount of changes in our physical reality, right? These changes are huge, and they're happening within and they're happening outside, as you know, right? So, and for some of us who are sensitives, and have known that these energy levels have been changing, what we're seeing is that it's coming online for everybody. So now these levels of awareness, right? Or overwhelm, mental overwhelm, they're starting to affect everybody. Like, wait a minute, is this like real? Is this what's happening? Because our sensitivities are part of this cycle. We're in a solar cycle 25, which started in 2019 and is going to be sort of over by what they say 2030. Yeah, 2030. So I thought I would print this off, which shows you that this is where we are right now in 2024. So this is 24, this is 26. So we have 24, 25, and 26 where we're going to peak out on these solar flares. So we're not done yet. We we haven't hit the peaks yet. And we're in this quiet rest period, right? Where things are different, we're being changed, right? We are having, where did it go? We're being changed from the inside out. And we're much more aware of things than we have been before because our energy skills are coming online, right? Makes sense. So think about what we've experienced since 2019, whether it's how we went through COVID, how we adapted with kids in school, with going into online work, um, uh, to changing house, to changing everything, right? So, I have such a huge I have seen such a huge surge in these energetic skills coming online where we are aware of everything. We are aware of everything around us at all times. And so what I wanted to talk about was just to briefly say, during this period of time when it is so quiet or perceived quiet, right? Think about our sensitivities. Go to Elaine Aron's highly sensitive person with the depth of processing. How much is my mind really creating this overwhelm? And how do I calm my mind down? And how do I let go of this programming that's in my head that is about tension and production and the anxieties that come with that, right? So depth of processing. What to do when you're overwhelmed, where all you can feel is the different issues coming in. So overwhelm, and it's definitely environmental. So it's going to show up in physical, which is things like prices are going up. There's kids are not happy in school, or you and your spouse are not, or partner are not happy in your jobs. Think of the physical things even the physical ailments that we're having that are sort of reminding us that, oh, we still are changing, right? The emotional surges, because it's the DOES, depth of processing, overstimulation, overwhelm in the environment, emotional dysregulation, emotional information coming in that overwhelms us, and then our senses, whether it's our smell, our sight, our tactical, our touch. I'm noticing that I'm hyper vigilant on the sounds that seem to startle me much more, and the smell. And we've talked about 2 weeks ago about this, that how my smell is. I've got a skunk. I'm picking up on things that are surprising to me, right? So we've got the high levels of sensitivity, and then we're going to pair those with the clairs, right? Which is how we feel, clear in touch, clairsentience, right? What we hear, clair audience. What we smell, clairalient. Um, what we know, clairvoyance. What we see, clair. Claire, wait a minute. What we know is claircognizance. What we see is clairvoyance. So all of these are coming online, and sometimes I'll sit with my friends at coffee and go like, "Did you?" And they're kind of like, "Yeah," before we've even said anything, because it's like there's a whole lot of stuff that's starting to become apparent that I didn't know, or I'm seeing behind what is being presented. So, in all fairness, I'm a double Pisces. I've always been extremely psychic and pay attention to energy. And I'm noticing that it's amping up, number one. And number two, that it's amping up for a lot of people, not just me. This is not just my world. This is the common everyday conversation, right? So we're in interesting times because we're becoming more aware of what's in our field and what's happening on the outside, right? We're becoming more curious and open. No doubt. We are just like, wait, how did I not ever see how this works before, right? We are looking at places where, let's see, where our patterns are showing up, whether it's, am I a people pleaser? I had no idea how much of a people pleaser I am, or a control, that there's so many levels of control that I don't know what to do, and the mental control, right? I'm in uncomfortable zones right now. Pay attention to if that is happening. Hyper production. I only feel valuable if I produce something, if I produce, if I work really well in a job, if I make sure that I've checked all the boxes and taken care of all the bills, that I make good food, whatever the production is within you, it's time to start looking at that. And where we hold fears in our body, things that we weren't aware of that were affecting our day to day. So, what else did I, please put something in the comments and say, what did I forget to mention on there? What else are you experiencing? Because this is a collaborative site. I love the fact that last week, over 1,400 watches and 18 initial comments, plus all of these dialogues and likes and yes, and support systems, support words and emotions that were coming along with all of that. So we are building this beautiful community. So this may be why we all came to this channel, is to make sense of this invisible, to sort of notice the super skills that are coming online. Like, oh, this is actually real. I can smell things. I can see things. I am noticing. I am noticing things with my clairvoyance that I had never picked up before, and it seems like it's razor sharp. And we're sharing information, and we're looking at ways to sort of navigate while this incessant C-class tapping is going on, right? So I have 5 tips for you today. And before we do that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing, for liking, for putting this on notifications, and for passing this around. And down in the link is the link for the discussion, which is Tuesdays, 5 o'clock Mountain Time. If that's not a good time for you, please let me know what might work, what might actually be the best time to do a discussion, because I'm open, and I want to make sure that I include different parts of the world. Right now, it's sort of perfect for Australia and the North American continent, but I definitely want to get some more in there. So thank you. And then also there's connections down there, so that if you want to support me as I bring this work forward, there's always a way for you to donate, or buy me a cup of coffee or do something like that. So let's get to the tips. Number 1, just know we're in a phase. We're in this, right? And this phase is part of the solar phase, but it also may be a change in how we navigate as humans. It might be we don't even know what this phase is, right? But we're in it. It's a growth place. Something's unusual. Life is not feeling normal. It's not predictable right now because we're changing and we're growing, right? Because change is happening and we're growing and we're shifting out of where is she? I love her. Out of some of these old roles and old conditionings that we've held on to. So when we shift out of these old roles, it helps if we know that we are learning a higher, different perspective. And I wish I had brought the Fool card out because he's just wonderful. He's sort of standing up on the cliff, and the Fool is someone who's gone through all 73 or 71 cards in the tarot deck and isn't surprised by much else, but has a higher perspective at all times. So when we hold this higher perspective, we use it, we play with it, and we make shifts and we make changes and we make it up as we're going along. I think about when I was a parent raising three kids at home with a husband that traveled a great deal. It was kind of like I've never been a mom before, and these three kids need something. So I just made shit up all the time, turned chores into games, did activities with them. And I thought, I'm just making it up because this is uncharted territory. We are all in uncharted territory, right? So the first thing is know we're in a phase, play with it, and make up stuff that makes it easier. Number two, customize your life. Create the way it works for you. Stop doing what the world tells you to do and start customizing. What is it that I need? What is it that alleviates my mental stress? What is it that helps me calm down my emotions? What is it that helps me balance myself? Because what we're doing is we're customizing it and we're stepping away from the shoulds and have tos, right? And we're charting out what works for you, for your partner, for your family, because that's all that matters is how you navigate through this. So number two is customize your life. Talked about this. Maybe reduce your scheduling. Maybe give yourself some more space to breathe. Number three, the best tool that I can use right now is mental management because form follows thought. And if I'm thinking about something and I'm noticing that the world is demonstrating what I'm thinking about, the most important thing I can do is say, no, stop thinking that way. And so we've talked about this. Just wipe it aside and go, yeah, I'm not going there. So I'm going to say mental management is the best tool for right now because what you think shows up in front of you, right? And because we are in this 29 degrees Capricorn and we're doing this deep dive, which ends on October 11th, then we hit the bottom and then we start to swim back up, right? It's the inversion of this, right? Um, it- because we are cutting and slicing and removing things, then the most important thing is to manage. Do you feel um, are you beating yourself up or are you looking for ways to help yourself out? So, and a really good example was that, I got really stuck financially earlier this month. And all of you who responded were just phenomenal. And I'm still not out of the weeds, but it was wonderful to have this surge of support that came in. And when I really added it up and looked at it, I was like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was. And then once I realized, oh, I've been doing the dive with my fear in my mental direction, then I turned it and then it just changed. And you can see it in my face. You can see it from the difference between last week and this week. It's like once I started managing the mental component, things changed, right? Interesting. Which is going to lead right into number four, which is to empower yourself. So, like notice something that you just did. Notice something that you've changed. Notice something that you've done for yourself, right? And then go, wow, that was really cool. I just grabbed, and I'll use the example I just used. I just grabbed a hold of this repetitive thought that I don't have the finances or the financial support to go this direction. And then I was like, well, maybe I do, because look what I just did. And so when we empower, hey, Denise, you just turn that whole thing around. That was really cool. So when we use that kind of empowerment dialogue with ourselves, what happens is that we start to go like, yeah, I got this. I'm going to be okay. Because again, we're in a huge shift. Our political environment, our global environment, our financial environment, even in so many ways, the education environment, they're just the institutions that are falling right now, and by design. This is the intention of the frequency upgrades on our Earth per the indigo, which I love. She looks so much like an indigo, right? So we want to empower that. Like, yeah, I just saw that, and this is what I'm doing to get around that. This is awesome. And number 5, to have compassion, because we're, we are here during these times, during this phase, during these events, and we're here when there are tremendous changes going on. And we're all going to change at different levels at different times. And all we need to do is hold compassion for ourselves and for those that we interact with. So thank you for being here today. Please pass this around if it's encouraging and it helps. And I will see you next week, or I'll see you Tuesday at the discussion. I would love to have you there. There's 4 of us and we're growing. So maybe come join us. You take care. Bye bye.